It's a little bit early, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. I call the meeting to order. This is the Michigan City Port Authority Board of Directors meeting, Monday, October the 16th, 2017. I appreciate everyone's attendance. Thank you for being here. It's been a nice day today. Our first order of business will be to invite our guests to speak if they have something they'd like to say. Don? Okay. The minutes of the October the 7th and October the 2nd meeting have been mailed out. Would the board either approve or amend the minutes?
Make a motion we approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, those who approve the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. May we have the harbor master's report, Mr. Frank?
Yeah, the last couple of weeks we've been pulling boats out of the marina, winterizing them, putting them in the parking lot down at Trail Creek. If you drive down through there, you'll see they're stacking them up down there. You'll also notice the slips are emptying out down here. We began the process today of shutting the water off throughout the marina. The water department came down and started turning off the meters that they turn off, and then tomorrow we get an air compressor and start blowing out the lines and shutting down the bathrooms. The office bathroom will stay on through the end of the month, and it stays on the rest of the time. It's just we start locking the lobby in November. So everything's going good as far as winterizing and going that direction. I received a letter from the DNR today, and this is just similar to what we've done in the past, but I'll go ahead and read it. Michigan City Port Authority Board. Over the past several years, the Michigan City Port Authority Commission has allowed the Indiana Department of Natural Resources Division of Fish and Wildlife to store our 36-foot research vessel, Oh My Kiss, at the Trail Creek Marina property for no charge. This arrangement has included removal and launching using the sling hoist, power washing the hull, and blocking the boat on jack stands. I would like to confirm this arrangement with the Michigan City Port Authority. I would like to have the technicians at Trail Creek Marina perform the necessary winterization for our vessel in mid to late November at the going rate for service and material. In the past, they have provided engine, generator, and head winterization along with the proper amount of antifreeze. We appreciate the fact that the Michigan City Port Authority continues to provide outstanding service for our needs. Please feel free to contact me regarding this request. We would like to confirm a storage location so our vessel can be removed in mid-November after we complete our fall lake trout spawning assessments in southern Lake Michigan. Thank you, Brian Breitart, biologist, Lake Michigan Fisheries Research Station. And we've done this multiple years, and I would ask that we continue to do this for the DNR.
Board, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we continue to provide that service to the DNR.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the DNR request. Any comments or questions? Comments or questions? Hearing none, those who favor the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, and that's all I have unless anybody has any questions.
Could you give us an update on the barge, on any investigation or anything on the new one?
As far as the barge goes, we had interviews with the Coast Guard about 2 weeks ago, and their next step was to send in a couple investigators to look around in the remains of the barge. I don't believe they've done that step yet, but that was the next thing they were going to do. Okay. On the rack system, Colin has been communicating with the group that we contracted to do it. They've got the deposit money. They're just finalizing their shop drawings and making any last minute adjustments, and then they're on their way.
anything on a new barge that we?
I believe he's sent out, Edgewater has sent out the request for proposal packets, but nothing back on that yet.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What about the rental of a barge?
So far, we've not located anything. Edgewater is looking for one, or has been looking for one. I think at this point, we can manage with what we have. If they don't find one, it's not the end of the world. It would be nice if they do locate one in case we don't get a replacement by next spring. But I'm not too worried about it here for the fall. The big project with the barge was bringing the buoys in, which we did manage to finish up. So I think we're good for now.
Bruce,
I'm sorry.
on that subject, we contacted 4 agencies that are on this end of the lake that have barges. And they have rental barges, but they're all rented. There wasn't anything available. So that's the reason we don't have a rental barge here.
I have one other question. Did the police department ever retrieve any of the goods that were left under?
Yes, they did. They did at least one and maybe 2 dives on it, and recovered tools, cutting torch set. They even found my sunglasses, which I don't know how they managed that, but they did.
Did they find Al's phone?
That I don't think they found my phone, so I don't know if they found Al's phone,
All
but
right, thank you for that. Yes, Dan?
Yeah, you mentioned, Mr. Finn, the water and stuff, and the cleaning station is all shut off here. How about at Trail Creek? Is that shut off yet?
no, it's still on. As far as I know, it's still on at Trail Creek. And we'll probably leave that on for a while yet. So you can still use that station down there. That's much easier to do, and we can do it ourselves. We don't have to involve the water department. So we'll leave that on probably into the first part of November, I would imagine. Yeah.
Anything else for the harbor master? Mrs. Pawlicki?
As you can see with the bills, it's a little bit different, but that's the new accounting system that the city has went to. And it's just a little bit different than what the other format was. At this time, we're getting ready for the 2018 season. The billings will be going out for that. The first of 3 billings will be going out next week. This is a letter that we're sending to the Spread Point people, telling them we now have yearly slips there as opposed to just the summer, and what they spent last year and what the rate is for the whole year. And that's all I have.
Board, do you have questions of Mrs. Pawlicki? If not, Mr. Carrot, finance, budget?
Okay, I will say one positive of this is it gives me the total items on there without having to count them, so we'll count that as a positive. So here I have the bills to the docket for the bills. I'm only actually going to touch on 2 things on here. If you go about halfway down, for $4,600 for Noel Brothers is purchasing antifreeze for winterization. And then 4 from the bottom for $23,549.97 is our NIPSCO bill. And if you add those 2 together, it's a little over $28,000 of the 35, and there's 18 bills, and 2 of those covered about 3/4 of what was on here. If there are no questions, I make a motion that we pay our bills as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pay our bills. Questions or comments?
Just the NIPSCO bill that looks a little high, is that like an extra time period, you know?
Part of what came in, yeah, that they overlap when they came in.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion to pay our bills as they have been presented, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pay our bills. You have anything else?
I do. I had the opportunity to sit and trying to jump start on next year's budget so that we are kind of ahead, but not really. I know that the month of December gets a little bogged down with all the things that we have to renew and go through. So I decided to sit down with the Finance Committee, and we sat down with the President and the staff here and looked at next year's budget. So I'm going to read that, right? And what I will tell you about this once everybody has it is that we are fortunate that when we looked at everything, we were able to compile a budget based on, very similar outcomes that we had in a previous year. And what I'll tell you about this is that if you look at the bottom dollar of this, the budget that I'm looking to have approved is exactly the same if you go to the last page as the previous year. So the number is exactly the same, so there's nothing new in it. The only thing I will touch on is if you go to the second page and look under rental equipment, we did bump that a little bit, and that is just, all it did is we just moved some money around a little bit, but just so that in the event that we do need to rent a barge next year for, however long we have the money available to do it.
How much did you bump it for?
Where are we? I just lost my number.
I might have.
12,000.
23, said.
We went from 1,000
1,000 to 16, so 15. I'm sorry, I lost the number. And that's just so that in the event that we need to rent the barge, we have the opportunity, and depending on for how long the money's there, if we need it. Don't have to, but if we have to, it is there. In addition, I'm going to pass around, this is the revenue as of September 30th of this year, and then if you look, that's on the right side, and as you look at it, and from the center, that also shows you, where we are a year ago to this date, so you can compare numbers, and then what our budget looks like for last year, but also the same as this year. Honestly, I would like to just try and get this approved today because there's nothing different about it. It's exactly the same as it was the previous year. Like I said, with that one big exception, which was just going and bumping a little on the rental for equipment if we need to.
Okay.
So, open for questions, but
You want to work to get this approved. I presume you've pretty well scrutinized it yourself.
absolutely. For several hours, so.
I'm good with it.
Like I said, there's any major questions, that's like if you were to pull and it's side by side, it's pretty much exactly the same.
We did have to change from some accounts
Pull from one,
to another, but it's all the dollar amounts in total.
Yes, the bottom line will be exactly the same.
Okay. Have you made a motion, Aaron?
I just wanted to see if there were any questions before I did that. Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve our 2018 budget as presented.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the new budget, which is almost identical to the 2017 budget. Boyd, do you have questions or comments from Mr.?
Should this say on the top for 2018 budget?
I'll make up a different one. I just wanted to make sure that everything went, well, it does say 1/1/28/2018.
It says it's for the 2018 budget.
So I just wanted to, I'll change
I see that,
something like that.
We weren't in negative in any of the items.
Some of them that we did, we changed, we're not through the year yet, so I'm not gonna, and if it is, all we'd have to do, but we're fortunate to be able to take the money from one account and put it into another to make everything come out a positive number.
Any other questions or comments? Yes,
Is
sir.
there a date that the budgets have to be approved for the year, or can they be approved early on like this? Is
Oh, yeah.
it okay to do it?
It's usually about the time period we
Yeah.
We were late last year.
Yes.
Very late. I think it was the last meeting, so earlier the better.
Any other questions or comments?
Automobile insurance? we
It's
have-
not paid until December,
That's one of those that can go.
yeah.
Yeah, there seemed to be a couple of questions. I presume you really kind of looked through the line items.
Yep.
You have questions,
I was able to ask, yeah. If you were curious, anything, the only thing that really was a little wacky was the special events, and that was due to the disposing for cardboard boat race and the races and stuff. And we're hoping that number drops next year because we're kind of holding them to, hey, we're not going to pay for this stuff all the time because it's starting to affect us.
As well as, what's the other group?
The
Yacht-
yacht club with
Yeah,
the
as well as-
sailboat
right,
races,
yeah.
yeah. That was the big one that I saw.
The only question I have is you have budgeted money for the boat show. Why would we do that if we're not having the boat show?
Well, we don't know, so it's a goodwill faith that if we have a boat show.
We still have an open contract.
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't have to use it.
They've got the right to come back for a boat show next year if they want to come back.
That answers my question.
So that's the reason that we put it in there.
Okay.
And also, Bruce, from a legal point of view, we wanted to show good faith on the contract in the event that there's something else that happens.
Okay, thank you.
And then another issue with that is we're still trying to get a boat show going with another exhibitor.
Right.
So we need that in the budget.
All right, thank you.
And that's the one that B&E Marina is considering possibly,
They're working with us, using their influence in the industry to try to find someone that would be interested in coming in. Any other questions or comments? Well, Aaron, the ball's back in your court.
So I'll make that motion that we approve our budget for the 2018 year.
Okay. Do we have a second?
yes.
Any other questions or comments? Questions or comments? Hearing none, those who favor the motion to accept the proposed 2018 budget, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. And the budget is approved. Thank you, Aaron, for your work. Do you have anything else?
That is all.
Mr. Manor, do we have anything on insurance?
The only thing I have is, a question was brought up the last meeting, whether we, and it appears this is going to be a moot point anyway, since we're not going to rent a barge, at least it doesn't look like we're going to now, but the question was brought up whether we had insurance that would cover the rental of a barge until we purchased one. And in talking with my attorney, or our attorney, I should say, and myself, I went through all of the insurance claims, as did the attorney, and we both agreed that absolutely not. We have no coverage for the rental of a barge.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
And I believe you're suggesting that if we do rent, we need to take care of that situation if we do rent something.
Absolutely.
Put a rider on our policy or something, okay.
Well, either do that or just pay for it ourselves. I mean, if it's only going to be for a month or so, I wouldn't suggest putting a rider on a policy for it, so.
That's true.
Is there a such thing anyways? Like, I know there is for cars, so if you're
Well,
totally.
yeah, you can actually put anything on an insurance policy, I believe, can't you?
Pretty much, as long as it's not unlawful.
Right,
Okay.
right.
There'll be somebody willing to take that money.
Can't insure drugs or things like that.
Do you think we should possibly look into something? for insurance next year, have an add-on, because something should happen to our trailer, or the tractor that moves the trailer, we'd be out of commission for a little while
Well, I think we have insurance on that.
on that stuff we do.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the policy again, but I think we have insurance on that. Yeah, we're covered by that.
If something should happen, we have run on most of that stuff.
As far as the barge is concerned, let's hope that never happens again.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Okay, is there anything else?
So as far as if we do run a barge, that'll come out one of the other funds, because I'm sure we don't have a budget set up for last year for rental. That'll come out of one of the other funds, we have money yet?
Well,
For this year.
yeah, if we did for this year, yeah. We'll come out of rental, then we just have to take it from something else to.
What you just mentioned, not specifically, but I did look at that situation if we had some expenses, bigger expenses associated with the barge the rest of this year. And I did notice that our expenditure rate, our cost, what we spent so far this year versus the overall budget for this year. So we'd have, Mary Ann does a heck of a job of keeping within most of our accounts and way favorable as far as overall. We got enough money in the budget to cover a few things like that. But I did, as I said, I kind of looked at that as we were looking through the budget stuff earlier. So now I understand what you're saying, Dan.
Okay, anything else? Anything else, Bruce?
No, that's all.
Okay. Mr. Ferguson, Master Planning?
I have nothing to report today.
Board, you have questions of Mr. Ferguson? If not, Mr. Messina, Board of Communications, Special Events?
I have nothing. Unless someone has questions.
How the fish doing?
How's the fish?
Anybody catching normal amount of fish out there this?
We got 3 on Monday, I think. That's the last one out, so I'm ready to come out of the water.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now we're 2 times.
And I don't know if there's any charter boats still running. I don't think there's anybody still running. Pretty much done this season.
Is there anything else from Mr. Messina?
That's unusual, isn't it? A lot of the charter boats usually run up into November, don't they?
Yeah, usually because they usually pay the extra $100 or so to stay out there or something like that.
Not necessarily to take charters out, but just the kind when we go out and play.
Okay, the Board Operations Report, some news I'm sure you probably picked up, as did I, was the good news that the DNR's declared that Lake Michigan is one of the 2 cleanest of the Great Lakes. And I thought that was really good news for us.
Very good news.
In terms of the new barge, the harbor master's already mentioned that the RFPs have gone out. I think either 4 or 5 companies have been invited to participate in the submission of those. Hopefully we'll have those for you at the next board meeting. That's our plan anyhow. Then the other issue, Personnel Department, Personnel Committee, and the Budget Committee all met, and we talked about increases for next year. And the recommendation that the Personnel Committee is making for next year's increases is a 3% increase across the board to all employees. That includes part-time and seasonal, with the exception of the 2 people in the office, one of which is our customer service representative, and the other is our primary computer person. And we're recommending that those two receive a 5% increase. So to review what I've just said, salary increase across the board for all employees at 3%, except for those two in the office, which would be 5%. Yes.
When you say all employees, are you including the part-time employees also?
Yes.
That's usually what we've done in the past, isn't it? When we do percentage increases, it's across the board.
Right.
How many part-time employees do we have?
2.
2? Okay.
And what Bruce is probably thinking of is,
Seasonal.
right,
Yeah. Well, they're part-time.
well, yeah.
They're here hard up the task.
We got 2 part-time, full-time employees.
I know when we looked at, I was part of the finance committee that looked at this as we kicked it around. And first thing, of course, I do, being a numbers guy, is I look to make sure that we have enough money to include our budget and our salary account to accommodate that. And we always run favorable, thanks to the good management team we have, we always seem to run quite favorable in that. And we have, Aaron has asked for a $12,000 increase that takes care of that part of the raise, so, and it was approved, and just from my little background, I see no problem with being able to afford this. And I mean, the office staff are really something, and as far as I'm concerned, the people definitely deserve 3%, at least.
Will there be a motion?
It's money.
No.
I'll let you do that
Okay,
if you want.
I'll make a motion that we, I don't know how do you state this, do a rate, increase in our, 3% increase across the board to all employees, with the exception of the 2 in our office.
Part-time.
Part-time, which theirs would be 5%. Am I saying that right?
I think so.
Those don't need to be separate, do they? Okay, I didn't know.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Do we have any questions or comments? Questions or comments? Hearing none, those who favor the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Board, thank you for your work. I think our employees have earned it, deserve it, and will continue to do so. Yes, John.
On the topic of the barge, I might be just out in the dark on it a little bit. Was that just a stock item
Oh, no.
barge, or was that custom built for us?
It's
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it was just for us, but it was custom built, and they don't do that anymore, the company that built it.
Are we checking into maybe getting one ordered, or are we just,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So the bid's going out, we have to send out bids?
right. We got requests for proposals out currently.
now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's either 4 or 5 requests for proposals have gone out to people who manufacture custom barges.
Okay.
And you start with telling them what you want.
Right.
And the staff and the engineering group, all of us sit down and we spend a lot of time on making sure that when these RFPs went out, it represented everything we thought that the Michigan City Port Authority needed in a work barge. And I'm hopeful that we get everything that staff have asked for.
Okay.
That's an interesting point. Was there a lot of differences between the old and what we would like to see new? As far as dimensions or anything added to it?
The width dimension is going to be reduced to make it more operable and fit our docks a little bit better than the old one did. We're looking at onboard generator so that we can use our electrical tools and everything just as though we were in the shop. We'll have onboard welding equipment, and we'll have onboard oxygen acetylene equipment. We'll have things like exterior fuel tanks so that there's nothing down in the hull anymore. We're looking at a barge with spuds and a crane that has expandable ability. Just, you know, all the things you think you need in a barge, and you know, radio equipment mounted, all that sort of thing.
And powered by outboard, inboard, what?
2 outboards, same as the other one.
Yeah,
250s.
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Interesting.
and we're asking the bidders. We're asking the bidders to use mortars that are sold in Michigan City.
Oh.
So that anytime we have repairs or we need parts, our particular mechanical expertise, they're across the river from us instead of somewhere else. So whoever becomes the winning bidder will be using mortars coming from B&E.
One other thing on the barge, I think our harbor master here shared with me, Dan, if you, just in case you're interested, and you can verify whether this is still true. Our old barge had the motors both together right in the middle. But now we're going to put the motors out on the end so you have more maneuverability about actually maneuvering the barge. So
Yeah.
it's still going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've asked the staff to look at all the things they didn't like about the old barge and make sure the new one doesn't have that. So anyhow, it'll be exciting to see what the proposals are when they come in, and hopefully next week we'll have an opportunity to see what that is.
I think the assistant harbor master was making notes on what he wanted in the new one, like within 2 days after the accident. I said, how you doing? He said, I'm deciding what all we need out of this new one. So I know that's the last I'd heard. So,
Mrs. Smear, advertising and public relations, please.
I see that we have taken out an ad in the Michigan City High School yearbook for $350. I want to talk a little bit about some conferences that I attended over the past 2 weeks. I attended one in Iowa called the Growing Sustainable Communities Conference and the Indiana State Conference of Cities and Towns. I sat in on some of their guest speaker activities, their special guest speaker activities, and some of the breakout sessions. I wanted to go into a little detail about it because I don't know if anyone has noticed, but Michigan City is growing. They're expanding, we're expanding rapidly. And what goes along with that are a lot of growing pains that a lot of people don't, really notice, like businesses having places to sit their dumpsters. You may have noticed that over like on 4th Street. Oh my God, I can't think of the intersection there. Parking issues, pedestrian issues, things like that. Businesses coming forward because of the new traffic in downtown with like First Fridays and the boat race activities, which affect their businesses. So they were coming up with ways of how to, your community can adjust and adapt to all those growing pains and everything. And one of the things they really focused on, or where I attended mostly, was the green infrastructure and how to use public spaces. I know that we have our Gateway, Lake Michigan Gateway implementation plan, as well as the master plan for the park. So things, talking about parking lots, and one of the problems I noticed the city is faced with the planters along Michigan Boulevard, and I know we have planters too, ways of reusing like rainwater and things like that, instead of the city having to, use city water to water those planters and things like that. Also, it's a little touchy, even for us in Michigan City. I noticed the general manager doesn't, he's not too happy when you start talking green infrastructure, because it can be costly to use some of those particular, avenues. But the upside of green infrastructure, of course, is all the recycling, the jobs that it creates. I noticed that when you're a community that tends to go green, you do get your millennials that move in, your college grads, your new families, and that in turn is how your community grows, and it also increases job growth as well. So it was things like that. I attend other meetings too and collaborate with other people, and they're voicing their concerns because of all the expansion that's occurring in the city. So I do receive valuable information, and we brainstorm together to come up with solutions to some of the problems with when your city is starting to grow so quickly, and that's a good problem to have. So it went well, and I wanted to share with you some of those things. I mean, I can go on forever, let me tell you, but one of the things like the plaza that the city is planning to work on, the public plaza, they're very big on those sorts of things. I know we talked about the voters having things, inquiring about what the city has to offer. So that would be something that's available to them, quite readily, as well as one way to also get the community more involved. They spoke about block parties and things like that. So it's a way to get residents to do the surveys. The city has had a difficult time trying to get people to do surveys, give their input. You may have 13 that show up, a city of 35,000, so you're not really getting the feel for what people may have a concern about or want to see occur. So they were very valuable. I enjoyed them. I attend a lot of the breakout sessions, which were great. So that's it.
Thank you. It's encouraging. Board, you had questions of Mrs. Winter?
I can see where some of those things apply as a little more indirectly, but some even directly down here.
Yes, I forgot to mention, they talked the traffic patterns too. Car traffic, pedestrian traffic, just all the things that you don't really think about until it all starts to change, so.
Okay. Any other questions, Mrs. Winter? Thank you for your report. Mr. Sacknoon, the attorney's report, please.
I have a couple of items to bring before the board. If you can pass these down. There was a request by Lauren Beck. She's a lecturer at the University of Chicago in the Department of Visual Arts. She wants to do some filming on Port Authority's property. It's the way it just passed out. I can continue. I'm passing out her curriculum vitae and some questions that I had posed to her when the request came in. And you can see my questions are at the top. It's a film for academic purposes. She teaches a class at the University of Chicago. It's a fictional short story. The subject explored is the relationship between two sisters, and in the scene that she wants to film at the Port Authority, there are going to be two dock workers who have known the sisters since childhood. And so she's just planning on using Port Authority property as kind of the scenery. There aren't going to be any professional actors involved. It's just going to be educators and students. They're going to use a simple camera. It's not like they're going to have cranes and lighting and everything all over the place. There's not going to be any simulated violence. There won't be explosions or anything of that sort. So basically, Port Authority property is just going to be scenery. They're not going to be climbing on top of any of the boats or anything. They're not going to be moving around equipment. She has comprehensive general liability insurance, workman's compensation insurance. She's going to provide those documents to me. She also said that she would sign a release, releasing the Port Authority from any liability and indemnifying the Port Authority if there were any damages that would occur. So with that, provided she provides the insurance information and is willing to sign an indemnity and a release, if the board is willing to allow her to film on Port Authority property, I would convey to her the board's decision one way or the other.
Why would we not approve this?
Well, I see no reason why we wouldn't, but if, however, it was going to be some violent, war film or something, and there are simulated explosions and things like that, where voters' property could be damaged, we would certainly not approve.
I saw you brought that up.
Yeah, that was one of the concerns I had. Or if it was like an expose on local governments gone awry or mismanagement in local governments, I wouldn't want to be a part of that either. But it's nothing like that, and I see no reason why. If she's insured, if she releases and indemnifies, I see no reason why we wouldn't afford her the opportunity.
Do you know why we were chosen, or?
I don't know. I should ask. I think it's probably because. Yeah, and I share that.
And then the other thing is, if they would like to use us as a visual, Port Authority, Michigan State.
Yeah, maybe you were in somewhere.
Yes, definitely, yes.
That's not a bad idea.
I'm
Sure.
very
I'm sure
sincere
Tim will
about
take care of
that. Yeah, and why were we chosen, you know?
I'll definitely ask.
What's the time frame on this?
She hasn't told me yet when she wanted, did it come to
November
you, Mary
6th, I
Ann?
think.
I'm sorry?
November 6th, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of weeks
So we're
away.
not gonna have any boats in the harbor.
It'd be at- No, it would be at Trail Creek.
Right, at Trail Creek.
Oh, most of it's gonna take place in Trustee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will they mention us by name? Will they mention us by name? Why were we chosen?
Why were we chosen?
And will
And can
they?
we get a plug?
Yes.
Board, maybe we have a motion?
Make a motion, we allow Lauren Beck to use our property as a backdrop for her filming.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request. Do we have any other questions or comments? Questions or comments? Hearing none, those who favor the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
And the other matter I have is the memorandum of lease. I have drafted that up, and I'll pass out memorandum. And as you will see when you get it, it's very general. We just state when the lease was entered into, who the parties were who entered into the lease. We refer to the assignee of 12 on Lake LLC's rights being Michigan's Yacht Club Holdings. We state the term of the lease, that the lease does not include an option to purchase the property, and the lease does not include any renewal options. So it's a bare bones memorandum of lease, and it would be signed by the president if the board approved, and it would also be signed by the lessee, the current lessee, which is Michigan's Yacht Club Holdings LLC.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Are there any questions from the board regarding this memorandum of lease? We're simply conforming to state law.
That is correct.
Thank you.
This is nothing new or different, it's just something that has not been done in the past that we should have done.
That's correct.
Board, may I have a motion, please?
That's the recording, right, you spoke about, or?
Right. You can either record the lease, but ours is a pretty lengthy lease, and there's no reason to record the whole thing. The other option you have is to record a memorandum of lease,
Okay.
and that's the
I thought that was because of the price per page for the.
well, that's part of it too.
Okay, yes.
Didn't we talk about, didn't we talk about, let me think how I want to phrase this. I thought when we agreed to lease, to the lease and the terms that we agreed on, I thought we talked about what was it, 3 years, and after 3 years, we would renegotiate with them. Didn't we talk about that?
After 3 years,
The rent abatement ends after.
It ends after 3 years.
yeah.
So then we would
The lease
renegotiate.
term continues.
The lease term continue. Well, no, because we had to renegotiate some pricing, I think.
Yeah, but I think
Because-
it would go back to what it was originally
Yeah,
after that
we
time.
go back to the original lease after the
Okay.
3 years.
Okay.
Right, which has built-in increases
All right.
as we proceed forward in.
I understand
in term
now.
of-
Yeah, thank you. I just had it mixed up in my mind here. I didn't.
Okay. Board, I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Support. Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the registration of our yacht club lease. Are there any questions or comments? Questions
Who
or
will keep
comments?
this signed? Do we keep it here and you will keep it also?
Well, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm asking, once it gets signed, where will it be?
We record it with the recorder of deeds.
That's right, I'm sorry, thank you.
Courthouse, that's the purpose. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, those who favor the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Not quite, Joe. I was under the impression that you had reviewed the Singing Sands request, and you had reviewed that with the harbor master and with me, and we were going to ask the board to at least consider approving that tonight so that the city could go on with their program.
We have not as yet received answers back from the city or the engineer that's working with the city.
All right, now that we brought the subject up, would you explain it to the board?
Yeah, as I understand it, the city has the Singing Sands project. I believe it's going to be along Michigan Boulevard between 4th and 8th Streets. And based on the drawings that we've seen, it looks as though some of it may approach or move toward Port Authority property where the fence is located. The indications that I have is they don't think that they're going to require the gate or the fence to be moved at all. I think they're going to widen the sidewalk there, but there might be enough room to accommodate that. One of the drawings looked as though it would impinge upon Port Authority property, but that's what the engineer and the city attorney who I was corresponding with are going to look into and get back to us. We don't want them to be able to move our gate or move our fence, and if they're going to do this work, we want to make sure that we continue to control our property, security to our property, where the fence is located, if our sign there is going to be removed. So all of those things, we're waiting for answers to those issues now.
All right. I apologize.
That's okay.
I thought we had answers on all of that. Okay. All right. Well, perhaps next meeting.
I hope so. I'll follow up with her tomorrow.
Okay.
And see if they have anything.
I just did one thing on, from the legal process. It's about a month ago, we talked about, just very briefly, an insurance claim perhaps against us on one of our broken benches. Do we remember anything on that? Is there anything public that you can fill us
Well,
up on?
the insurance policy we have includes a duty to defend.
Okay.
So the insurance company will hire the attorney to defend that claim.
Okay.
I understand that it has been, I believe, assigned to an attorney.
Oh, okay.
I don't have the attorney's name yet, but the insurance company is taking care of the defense of that claim.
Okay. Anything that we need to hear about, you'll hear about first and let us know.
Absolutely. I asked them to keep me informed, and
Okay.
I haven't heard anything new yet.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Zachman? Any questions? Thanks for your report, Joe, and your work. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Mr. Cooper, you have anything you'd like to say?
I do not.
Okay. Is there any old business? Do we have any old business? If not, we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you, board.